Hello and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, where we go beyond the numbers and get into what actually makes a business work. I'm your host, Stephanie Marshall, founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner. I help business owners who've outgrown the basics bring clarity, structure, and proper systems into their business so things finally feel in control. If you want more clarity, more confidence, and a business that doesn't feel like constant chaos, you're in the right place. Each week we tackle real problems, answer the questions you're probably already thinking, and give you practical steps you can actually use in around 15 minutes. So if you're ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity, then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for around 15 minutes of motivation, education, and inspiration to help you build a better business each week. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Stephanie Marshall. I am the founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner, and I help growing businesses who have outgrown their bookkeeper move from messy reactive finances to clear, structured numbers and systems they can actually use to run their businesses properly. Because I truly care about the people behind the businesses, not just the numbers. Today's episode is one I think will land for a lot of people because I hear things like this all the time. Like, I feel like I'm all over the place. I don't know why this still feels so hard. And I'm trying everything, but it's just not working. And what that quietly turns into is, well, maybe I'm just not very good at this business thing. And I want you to stop right there. You're not bad at business, you're just missing structure. Because this matters. If you believe you're bad at business, you start doubting your decisions, overthinking everything, hesitating, and looking outside for answers constantly. But if the real issue here is structure, then that's fixable, that's practical, and that's something you can change. Now, when I say missing structure, I don't mean rigid, corporate, complicated, and complex. Most of the time, missing structure looks like doing things slightly differently every single time, relying on your memory instead of implementing systems, reacting to what's in front of you, making decisions in the moment off the cuff, and having no real rhythm to your week. It's not chaos, it's inconsistency. And inconsistency can feel exhausting because every time you do something, you're starting from scratch. You're thinking, how do I do this again? What did I do last time? What am I missing? What's that specific nuance that the client wanted? And that constant thinking, that mental load will drain your energy. So let's take something simple as an example. Client onboarding. Without structure, you send different emails each time. You forget steps in the process. You chase things manually and you repeat yourself constantly. But having a structure in place means you've got the same process, the same steps, and the same outcome. It's the same task, but completely different experiences for you as a business owner. Now imagine that smoothness and that efficiency across client work, admin, finances, communications. Everything takes more effort than it should right now. And that's not because it's hard, but because it's inconsistent. Now there's a hidden cost to no structure that people don't often talk about. And I think this is where it gets interesting. Because the cost isn't always obvious. It shows up as time being wasted, decisions taking longer to finalize, things slipping through the cracks and the nets, and stress all the time. And that stress builds and compounds like a snowball quietly. I've spoken to so many business owners lately, and I think I've even said myself recently, I feel like I'm always behind. I feel like I'm constantly playing catch up. Now that I'm always behind feeling is one of the biggest indicators that structure is missing. Because when structure is missing, you do feel like you're always catching up. Even if the work is getting done, deadlines are being met, clients are being served, and money is still coming in, you still feel behind. This is really common in the stage of business I like to call the messy middle. If you haven't seen that episode yet or heard the episode yet, go back to a couple of episodes ago where I talk about the messy middle. Because at the beginning, you have fewer clients, fewer moving parts. It's much easier to manage in simple spreadsheets or Word documents or remembering things in your head. You can get away with reacting quickly and having to remember those things. But then when you get more clients, you have more work and have more decisions to make. The business starts growing, and suddenly that approach that's always worked no longer works. And I see so many people make the mistake of responding to that by doing more, putting in more hours, giving more effort to the business, and a lot more trying to make things work. But that just adds pressure, because the problem isn't and wasn't ever not enough effort. It's how the business is being run. Think about your week. Does it feel chaotic? If your week's already feeling chaotic, adding more to it is not going to fix it. Structuring it differently just might be what you need. A lot of people think structure means rigidity. People think that it should be a set, like a 9 to 5. You must do this at this time and that. That's not what I'm talking about when I say structure. Structure is consistency, the same thing happening every time. Having a process written down, doing it consistently, means that nothing gets missed, means that everything is easier. Structure can also give you clarity so that you understand what you're doing, you understand why you're doing it, and you understand how it needs to be done. Predictability, knowing that that job is all written down. Those nuances for those clients are all written down. If that client wants their report delivering to them in a specific format, if there's a certain line item that is being tracked on that particular client. So I have a couple of music artists as clients, and I often say to them, would you like me to break down your income? And they're like, oh no, I don't need to. I was like, well, do you not want to know how much of that's like royalty income? That's residual income. You aren't doing anything for that anymore. That's like your residuals. And they're like, I never thought of it like that. And I was like, well, if we do it this way, then when we do our reports and we get together and we look at how things are moving and changing in your business, we can almost discount that royalty income when we're looking at what you are making, because that income you can't guarantee. You don't know when it's coming in. You don't know how much you're going to get, because that, no matter how much work you do, that royalty income from residuals isn't going to change. And also, having this structure just gives ease. It makes things simple, smoother, less stressful, because then most importantly, it's going to reduce decision fatigue. I made the decision a while ago at home to create a 4-week rotating dinner list, like a menu in the school canteen. We have week 1, that's our 5 dinners, week 2, 3 and 4, and we change it, and we follow it through every week 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we go back to 1 again, and we do that 3 times over, and that gives us a quarter, give or take, and then we change the menu again. I never have to sit there now on the weekly shop or in an evening and go, what am I going to cook for dinner tonight? I'm just removing that decision fatigue. Mark Priestley once said that to reduce decision fatigue, he would put his gym kit next to the bed, so it became the easiest option, the first thing he reached for. Then he's already ready for the gym, and it just made going to the gym easier. Every time you have to think, how do I do this? What did I do last time? That's a decision. And those decisions add up and really do increase that mental load and stress. Structure removes those decisions and makes things easier and more streamlined. The thing with structure as well is, if you're looking to grow and scale a business, which I presume you are by watching or listening to this podcast, at some point you are going to look to take on more staff, whether that's freelance, employees, outsourcing. Those structures that are written down, those procedures that are written down, that's the first chunk of their training done. You're not going to spend time doing that and losing time on the business, because those processes and procedures are already there. I like to think of it as, if I was hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody could walk in right now and take over. They could do it the way I want it done. They could do it the way the client has always expected it to be done. The level of service wouldn't decrease, and I wouldn't need to be here to make sure that it's implemented in the way that you keep it in your head. You know how you want it to be done, but nobody else knows what's going on inside your head. Now let's bring this back to your numbers briefly, because surprise, surprise, I'm a bookkeeper and accountant. When structure is missing financially, your bookkeeping is inconsistent at best, your numbers aren't reviewed regularly, and your decisions are reactive rather than planned for. That creates uncertainty, stress, and confusion. And none of this is because the business is failing. It's because the visibility isn't consistent. So what I need you to do is shift from, I'll deal with this as it comes, to, This is how it's done now and going forward. And this will sometimes change and tweak, but if you've got that process and structure down, it's much easier to tweak that structure for next time. Rather than, oh, how did I do it last time? Oh, didn't we change it to that? Didn't we do that? This is how it's done from now on. The shift from reactive and firefighting to something repeatable without increasing the decision fatigue. And from thinking every single time to simply following a process. This podcast is done in the same way every single week. I come up with the topic, I come up with what I want to talk about. I know it's 15 minutes because that's the structure of it. I know I can get 2 or 3 main points, a takeaway, and the lesson I want you to go away and implement into your business. I get my main bullet points down on how I want it to flow. I record the episode the same way. I edit the episode the same way. The captions are preset for me in my brand colors, in my font, so that I don't have to think about it every time. My intro and outros are added automatically now because I've set the system to do that for me to reduce that decision fatigue. And the way that I write the posts for social media, the way that we export it, the way that the podcast comes out at 6 a.m. on a Thursday and on YouTube at 8 a.m. on a Thursday, that is the process we follow every single time. Now, should Riverside, which is the software we use to record with, release a new feature, they did it a while ago with the hooks feature. The process tweaks slightly, but it's still there, it's still written down, it's not sitting on my brain. I want to be really clear here because structure does not mean losing that flexibility. If I have an event, networking event to go to, if I'm off because the kids are sick, the flexibility is still there. I'm not saying the structure has to be rigid or overcomplicated. It can be as simple as, on Thursdays, I do this. When I do my social media, I do 3 posts a week on this social media platform. It can be that simple. Good structure makes your business feel lighter, easier, and actually more manageable. I want you to pause for a second. Where in your business are you currently repeating yourself time and time again? Where are you rethinking things? And where are you starting from scratch every single time? Because that's where structure is missing. And before you go ahead and completely take out the whole week so that you can write down every single procedure and structure in your entire business, we don't need to fix everything at once. We need to start with one area. Where people go wrong is that they try to overhaul everything and actually they end up overhauling nothing and losing time in the process. Pick one area and start there. If you're not sure where to start, here's 3. How you manage your time, how you deliver your work to clients, and how you review your numbers. Of course, I'm going to put that one in there. Pick one of those, fix one of those, and everything starts to feel easier. This is also about identity shifting too. A lot of it is how we see things and how we tell ourselves these things in the business. We need to move from I'm figuring it out to I run this properly. I am a CEO, I am running a business. That is a big shift. The way you hold yourself will change when you start thinking of it that way. And the truth is, you're not struggling because you're not capable. You're struggling because your business has outgrown how it's currently being run. And isn't that amazing? Before we finish, as I always do, I like to give you one thing to do this week. This week, I want you to pick one task you repeat regularly, just one, and write down the steps and turn it into a simple process, even if it's basic. If you are doing an online thing on a computer, you can use a tool called Scribe to click the button. It goes through the process. It will record your screen. It will record where you click. It will create you a PDF. It will give you screenshots all the way through. Great starting point. Because once that's written down, you don't have to rethink it every time. And by this time next week, that one thing will already feel easier. So if your business feels harder than it should right now, it's probably not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you're doing it without enough structure. And that's completely fixable. If you found this episode useful, please do like, rate and review, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to it. It really does help more business owners find this podcast so that we can all build better businesses. If you know a business owner that you think needs more structure in their business, you can see them starting to wobble. Send them this episode so they know it's not their fault. And if you want support bringing clarity, structure and proper systems into your business so it actually feels easier to run, that's exactly what we help with at ABCS UK. The link is in the show notes so you can book 15 minutes in the diary to see how we can help you. Because your business deserves better. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week for the next episode. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. If this has helped you think differently about your business, then it's done its job. Make sure you're following or subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. And if you found it useful, please do leave a review. It helps more business owners find this and start running their businesses properly. If you want more insights behind the scenes and the reality of what it actually takes to build a better business, come and connect with me on social media. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start running your business with clarity, structure, and confidence, your next step is just a click away, because your business deserves better. I'll see you in the next episode.